Alright, well, so that's the end of my my reading for right now. So at this point, all the puzzles were completed, we read through the story, so last thing to do is to go through the final level. Up in the attic, of all places. This one doesn't have a name, just a number. At a cafe on a bright plaza, most customers sit back, feeling the warmth of the sun, enjoying their cool drinks. But not Tim. He barely notices the sun, doesn't really taste his coffee. For him, this corner affords a good view of the city, and in the teeterings of the passerbys, and the arc of a shop girl's hand as she displays tea to an interested gentleman, Tim hopes to see clues. That night at the cinema, fictitious adventures lunge implausibly across the screen. The audience here is mixed. Some are patrons of the cafe, now sitting excitedly in the plush chairs, eager for another new flavor, for distraction from their boredom of their easy lives. Other seats hold fishermen and farm workers, hoping to forget their toils and rest their hands. Tim is here too, but he is scrutinizing the gloss on the lips of the screen, measuring the angle of the plume of a distant helicopter class. He thinks he discerns a message. When the cinema closes and most of the audience strolls down the plaza to the south, Tim goes north. People like Tim seem to live oppositely from the other residents of the city, tide and riptide flowing against each other. Tim wants, like nothing else, to find a princess, to know her at last. For Tim, this would be momentous, sparking an intense light that embraces the world, a light that reveals the secrets long kept from us, that illuminates or materializes a final palace where we can exist in peace. But how could this be perceived by other residents of the city, in a world with flows contrariwise? Some words in here, it's just like, woo. The light would be intense and warm at the beginning, but then flickering down to nothing, taking the castle with it. It would be like burning down the place we've always called home, where we played so innocently as children, destroying all hope of safety. So yeah, that happened. Yeah, so it kind of looked in the reverse that I might be the bad guy. So that was the end of the final level, and now there's this epilogue part where I will be doing more dramatic reading. It's always an interesting time. So there's two parts of every story. There's the one that when I open the book, and then there's one when I hide myself. So there's this part, and when I'm back here, it shows something different. So I'll read both of them. So when I first opened the book, the boy called for the girl to follow him, and he took her hand. He would protect her. They would make their way through this oppressive castle, fighting off the creatures made of smoke and doubt, escaping to a life of freedom. The boy wanted to protect the girl. He held her hand, or put his arm around her shoulder in a walking embrace, to help her feel supported and close to him amid the impersonal throngs of Manhattan. They turned and made their way towards the Canal Street subway station, and he picked a path through the jostling crowd. His arm weighed upon her shoulders, felt constrictive around her neck. You're burdening me with your ridiculous needs, she said. Or she said, you're going the wrong way and you're pulling me with you. And another time, another place, she said, stop yanking my arm, you're hurting me. He worked with his ruler and his compass, inferred, he deduced. He scrutinized the fall of an apple, the twisting of metal orbs hanging from a thread. He was searching for the princess, and he would not stop until he found her, for he was hungry. He cut rats into pieces to examine their brains, and planted tungsten posts into the skulls of water-starved monkeys. Ghostly, she stood in front of him and looked into his eyes. I'm here, she said. I'm here. I want to touch you. She pleaded, look at me. But he would not see her. He only knew how to look at the outside of things. He scrutinized the fall of an apple, the twisting of metal orbs hanging from a thread. Through these clues he would find the princess, see her face. After a especially fervent night of tinkering, he kneeled behind a bunker in the desert. He held a piece of welder's glass up to his eye and waited. On that moment hung eternity. Time stood still. Space contracted to a pinpoint. It was as though the earth had opened and the skies split. One felt as though he had been privileged to witness the birth of the world. Someone near him said, "It worked." Someone else said, "Now we are all sons of bitches." She stood tall and majestic. She radiated fury. She shouted, "Who has disturbed me?" But then, anger expelled, she felt the sadness beneath. She felt her breath fall slowly, like a sigh, like ashes floating gently on the wind. She wouldn't understand and why she chose to flirt so closely with the death of the world. The candy store. Everything he wanted was on the opposite side of that pane of glass. The store was decorated in bright colors, and the scents wafting out drove him crazy. He tried to rush for the door or get closer to the glass, but he couldn't. She held him back with great strength. Why would she hold him back? How might he break free from her grasp? He considered violence. They have been here before on the daily walks. She didn't mind his screams and his shrieks, or the way he yanked painfully on her braid to make her stop. He was too little to know better. She picked him up and hugged him. "No, baby," she said. He was shaking. She followed his gaze towards the treats sitting on pillows behind the glass, the chocolate bar, the magnetic monopole, the it from bit, the ethical calculus, and the it from bit and the ethical calculus, and so many other things, deeper inside. Maybe when you're older, baby, she whispered, setting him back on his feet, leading him home. Maybe when you're older. Every day thereafter, as before, she walked him on a route that passed in front of the candy store. He cannot say he has understood all of this. Possibly he's more confused now than ever. But all of these moments he contemplated. Something has occurred. The moment feel substantial in his mind like stones. Kneeling, reaching down towards the closest one, running his hand across it, he finds it smooth and slightly cold. He tests the stone's weight. He finds he can lift it, and the others too. He can fit them together to create a foundation, an embankment, a castle. To build a castle of appropriate size, he would need a great many stones. But what he's got now feels like an acceptable start. And yeah, we're back at the beginning. Right where we started. So that's the end of my playthrough of Braid. As I was, and I'm sure anybody else who just watched this are probably like, what just happened? I'm going to have a follow-up video discussing the meanings of the Braid, what all the books meant, what happened in that last level, and, you know, what does it all mean? So thank you for watching. Hope for you to come back. Please like and subscribe if you find this enjoyable, and please give me any feedback on what you would like to see in the future. I'll see you all later, and yeah, do-de-do.